besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyan and this is Kyan is Booked, and today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of May, and I'm going to do this wrap up just a little bit differently because some of these are featured in a reading vlog that's already posted or in a reading vlog that is going to be on the way. So in an effort to like not spoil the reading vlogs or anything like that, I'm gonna just like post a picture and I'll link it up and in the description box, of course, and just say, hey, like for more like in-depth thoughts, like go watch the reading vlogs and I'll give you like my rating, and then we're gonna keep going. So the first of that is gonna be Unraveling Him by Claire Kingsley and Blind Pass by Tegan Hunter. I gave Unraveling Him 5 stars and Blind Pass I gave 4 stars. And they are featured in this reading vlog right here, so please feel free to go watch that. Iron Flame is also included in that if you want my unfiltered thoughts on the second edition of the Empyrean series. Next up, I read Beautiful Beast by Devin Sinclair, so I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is a first in a Dragon Shifter Why Choose series. I kind of like got done listening to the graphic audio of Fourth Wing again, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need more dragons, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw this and like I had just been released and I was like, oh man, like do I? So yeah, there is a cliffhanger at the end of this one. I do know that she's actively working on book number 2, and I'm gonna be really excited when she does release it. It is a really good first installment, a really good first edition, and I had a great time reading it. Just wish I could binge the series, but you know, one day I'll be able to binge them all the way through. Next, I read Veronica Ruiz Breaks the Bank. So this is novella, and it's like 3.5, I want to say. So Veronica Ruiz is the best friend of Finlay Donovan in the Finlay Donovan series, and she kind of has a checkered past, if you will. And we haven't really like got a lot of information about like how she came to be, like what she did and all that kind of stuff. So this like novella is kind of like her journey to where she finally meets up with Finlay Donovan, and then she gets entered into like that aspect of the series. I really like the Finlay Donovan series like as a whole. I know a lot of people are like, oh well, like, but I mean like it's a cozy mystery, and I just kind of enjoy like the chaotic parts of the series and like kind of how like some of the scenes are far-fetched. Like I really do enjoy that. So I am having the time of my life reading the series, and it was really nice to know a little bit more about Veronica because I adore her. And I really hope that at some point in time in this series that she makes it back with her main man. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Next up, I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the idea of the fact that like she worked on a cold case, and it was one that was like really near and dear to like the small town's heart, and a lot of people wanted to know where like this one girl had disappeared to, and she never believed that the boy committed suicide. So it was a very interesting dynamic, and it was a very interesting read. I will say that sometimes like I struggled with like the multimedia of how the book was written. Some of it we get in text messages, like some of it we get as like a typed out interview for her to like submit to her like thesis advisor, because she's working on it, I guess, a school project. And some of it was a little far-fetched because like I don't believe like a 17-year-old girl would be like allowed to do some of the things that she did. But I really did enjoy the story overall, and I really did enjoy kind of like the like amateur sleuth like taking on everybody and like actually being right about it. So I enjoyed that, and I will eventually read the sequel. When that will be, I don't know, but like I said, I'll eventually get there. Next up, I read Midnight Fae Academy Book 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I gave all of them 4 stars. So I'm not going to go, and if you're probably wondering like, wow, she keeps like looking away and stuff like that, my computer's right here because I have it all typed out for what I read this month, so that's just why I'm looking down. So I read Midnight Fae Academy, and like I said, I gave all 4 of the books, what do you call it? 4 stars. Okay, we're back at it. It's a dark vampire romance. It's a Why Choose. It is Academy as well. And, oh my gosh, not my phone dying. Okay, hopefully we can get through this video. So a forbidden bite led to my capture and recruitment. I'm an Earth Fae who doesn't belong here. And then you've got Headmaster Zephyrus, Prince Kolstove, and Shadow. The reason why she's in this mess in the first place. And essentially, she's been recruited for a purpose, even though like she doesn't understand what her purpose is. And all of the guys that she is like having feelings for, feeling drawn to, they're a part of like the Midnight Council. And one is like essentially given to her like as a bodyguard. One's supposed to look over them, and like the other person is the one who bonded with her, even though like he wasn't supposed to. And this is like a world where everybody has magical powers and people are mated for like alliances and not necessarily love. So we get the full story, and we do get a resolution at the end of the series. And a big reason why I gave this 4 stars instead of like 5 stars, because you're like, wow, like you read the whole series. And I did, and I really enjoyed it. I just felt like maybe it was kind of dragged out in between book 3 and book 4, and maybe I would have liked like a bigger book 3 so that some of it could be cut out and we could get just like a little bit more meat within the story and not necessarily feel like it was being dragged out there at the end, if that makes sense. I don't know, like some of it just felt like it was like there for the sake of being there, and I feel like things could have been like a little bit sharper. But that's just my personal opinion. I still really enjoyed it. I really liked following our Earth Fae and like, you know, her love stories. And I kind of like the idea of like the vampires and everybody kind of like working together, and her being like, listen, I don't believe in this kind of stuff. Like, you know, I believe in the earth, and I believe in, you know, like not necessarily like, you know, she's a lover, not a fighter type situation. So I just kind of like found that interesting, and I'm trying to look here because I'm trying to remember her name, and I can't. Flora. I knew it was like kind of like a flowery name. So Flora is our female main character, and she's been thrown to the wolves, essentially, hot to the vampires. Get it? In this like Midnight Fae world where she doesn't belong because, well, you know, she's an Earth Fae. So yeah, so I read all 4 of those. After that, I read Always Only You, and this is book 2 in the Bergman brothers. So this follows Ren and Frankie. And I don't want to say too much because this is gonna be a vlog coming out like late June, early July. So all I'm gonna say is that this is 5 stars, and it is absolutely the best book in the series. I know it's only book 2, don't at me, because I loved the first book, but like Ren and Frankie for life, okay? For life. And I love the fact too that he was also a hockey player, so this is like a hockey romance as well, and like, you know, kind of like forbidden, and just it had everything. So it's hockey romance, it's forbidden romance, it's disability rep, it is like nerdy heroine, no, hero, not heroine, nerdy heroine and hero essentially. And it was just like all this amazing goodness like wrapped up in one, and I had the time of my life. And honestly, I haven't finished the rest of the series. Like I haven't gone on to the next book because like I'm scared that it just isn't gonna live up to Ren and Frankie, and I mean it's not going to, and I just need to let it go. Next up, I read A Song of Sky and Sacrifice, and this is book 7 in the, oh my gosh, no, I didn't forget because I love this series, in the Fae Guardian series. I knew I was going to get there, by Lana Petracek. And this is the beginning of the elves as well. I cannot go super in depth into this because the plot is plotting, y'all. Like we're 7 books in. There's been a plot that we started in the first book that is like moved all the way to this very last book here. I just like, it's fated mates, and I'm trash for the fated mates because it is just, it's everything, y'all. Like I have so much respect for the men in this series, and like how like much they revere the well-blessed mating. And I'm actually a Sky of Song in, because I had their names written down and I lost the sticky note. But yeah, so Season of the Elf. So her name is Melody and he's Forrest, and he was the sacrifice for the Autumn King. And essentially the Autumn family like had him knowing that he was going to be sacrificed to the well. Well, the well spit him out as like a guardian, which is top, like the guardians are the end all be all, right? and Melody is being kept in the human civilization, essentially. And this is like 1,000 years from when nuclear bombs went off. So like Earth isn't Earth, and like these things, like this world doesn't exist anymore. So she's singing propaganda because for the human villain, essentially the guy who wants to control all the humans, and like she's singing like propaganda to like have the humans living in fear. And she meets Forrest and she realizes like, okay, like maybe I've been lied to this entire time. And they get in touch with the well at a certain point, and the well brings to light like what he's been trying to convince her, that like, you know, like you were sent here for a higher purpose, like this isn't what you're supposed to be doing, like I believe that you're like meant for more, like come with me, and all of this stuff. Sorry, I thought there was something on my face. Maybe there is, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I gave 5 stars to this. It was just too good. You know what I mean? Like the deeper I get into the Fae Guardian series, like the more and more I absolutely love, like just love it. I have 2 more books and then I'm going to be all caught up. And I believe she's still writing in the series, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Next up, I read Bad Intentions by Mila Kane. So this is my first ever Mila Kane book. And I would say it did not disappoint. This is a dark hockey bully romance. It is the Hellions of Hade Harbor. Say that 3 times fast. And this follows Caden and what is her name? Lily. And Lily's the coach's daughter, and Caden's the bad boy from the other town that the coaches brought in as an enforcer to like help with the hockey team because he wants to coach the college level, and he knows that the team he has plus Caden will help elevate him to that level. And Caden's full of secrets, and they get off like on the wrong foot. She says something to him and like he really takes it to heart, not realizing that like that's not like type of person she is. It gets bad enough in his foster family situation that like he moves in next door, like into the room next to Lily. And he's like torturing her, but like, yeah, it's a bully romance, and like, yeah, like it is dark and there are definitely dark themes in here, but I don't know if this says a lot about me as a reader, but I didn't think this is like the worst I've ever read. And once he realizes kind of like how he feels about her, a lot of that changes, and a lot of it really becomes about him like battling his feelings and like more so pushing her away versus bullying her, which I thought was an interesting take on it. Let's see. And a lot of it too is just like her being too afraid to like disappoint her parents, and like him pushing her out of her comfort zone and kind of like what they can do for each other. And like, you know, like she feels oppressed by her parents because like, you know, they don't let her do anything, and like, you know, she doesn't want to disappoint them. And he's like, you know, I would just really love to have parents who like care that much about me. So like he really helps her kind of put things into perspective, but also like stand up for yourself. Like, you know, like you want to go do this, tell them you want to go do this. You don't like this, tell them you don't like this. Like rather than just like accepting everything that's happening around you. So I really enjoyed this one. Like I was so obsessed with just like how obsessive he was about her, especially once he realized like how much he cared about her and like what she meant to him. The obsession factor was definitely there. And I know I have more notes, hang on, like in my notebook right here, because I'm planning on doing a rec video. Okay. So just give me 2 seconds. Oh, I just have like 3 books so far. Anyway, so this is book 1 in that series, and I gave it 5 stars. And then next up, we have Dark Delights, also by Mila Kane, same series, The Hellions of Hade Harbor. And this follows Eve and, no, stop it. I will not, there it is, Beckett. Okay, so they're called the Ice Gods. So Eve is the brother, no, Eve's brother is one of the Ice Gods, and his name's Asher. They're twins. Eve and Asher are twins. Asher goes to play for another team in Denver because of the scholarships, and because, like, you know, he comes from a very poor family and he doesn't want his mom to have to worry about him. So he leaves and he goes. All the other Ice Gods are playing in college for the same coach they played for in high school. Beckett is one of Asher's like best friends, right? and something gets mixed up or whatever, and they end up rooming together. Eve and Beckett end up rooming together, and Beckett's always had like a crush on our girl Eve, right? And he hasn't always handled it very well. Like he's like made fun of her, you know, treated her like crap because she's poor. And Beckett seemingly has everything, right? He lives in a mansion. He has this like really fancy house. Like his dad pays for everything. But not everything is as it seems, as Eve slowly starts to find out. Like his stepmother did really depraved things to him when he was young. And so please read the trigger warnings. I'm being so serious right now. Did really depraved things to him when he was young, and his dad sided with his stepmom. And him and his dad had like a really, really rocky, tenuous relationship. His mom died when he was young, and like she's the only one who like ever cared about him, but cancer stole her away. He's been self-medicating, he gets caught, and then it becomes this whole thing of like him getting sober again. And they end up rooming together at college because Asher's dorm doesn't get canceled, but her dorm does get canceled because of the last name snafu. Now, whether or not I believe that would happen or not, I love a like forced proximity. Like I was digging the forced proximity in this. And I absolutely loved watching Beckett slowly fall for Eve, because like Eve saw through him from the very beginning and was like, you know what, I understand why you're hateful and I understand all of these things and I wish you would trust me, but I will wait for you to trust me because I know that there's more here than what you're telling me. And I love the scene where Beckett and Asher finally have it out when Beckett's like, nah, dude, like, she's it for me. And like, I'm going to marry this girl. And Asher's like, you're insane. And Beckett's like, nah, dude, I'm not insane. And I don't really feel like this is a spoiler, guys, because it's a happily ever after. Okay. So I absolutely adored this book. I gave it 5 stars as well. If you're looking for a dark hockey romance series, I highly recommend this one. I do know that book 3 comes out in June, and it follows another one of our ice gods. So pretty excited about that one. Next, I read My Sister's Grave by Robert Dugani. So this is book 1 in the Tracy Crosswhite series. And I actually discovered this series. I was just walking around in my library and I was like, oh wow, this sounds really interesting. And essentially this is the story of Tracy's sister. And Tracy's sister goes missing, and it's 20 years later, and they've convicted somebody for the essentially kidnapping and murder of her sister, but things aren't adding up, and she doesn't think that the person who's been put away is actually the right person, or if it is, that they had a fair trial, right? So she meets up with her childhood friend, Dan, who's now a defense attorney, and they kind of like align to figure out what happened to Sarah, her sister, because all of a sudden her body has risen to the surface. They found the body, and more questions and answers have been brought forward. And essentially, like, this is a story of Tracy trying to finally get answers for herself and for her family, even though both of her parents are long dead, because her dad committed suicide. Can I say suicide on YouTube? Her dad unalived himself, and her mom died of cancer. So I absolutely loved this book. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars because like all I could think is I don't even know how she's functioning right now, because I would be an absolute wreck if I lost my sister, and to like carry that with me for years, I'm not sure what that would do to me. And I just loved it. And this is like a thriller mystery series, which if you've been here for a while, then like, you know that like, I'm not necessarily like a big, I love mystery and I love suspense and stuff, but I really do like a lot of romance in that aspect of it. But I think this is just like another one of those series that's like so good. And there's a level of romance, between Tracy and Dan, that I really do enjoy, but I don't know, there's just something about this series that's so good. So after I finished My Sister's Grave, I then listened to Her Final Breath, which is book 2 in the series. And this follows, this serial killer named the Cowboy. And essentially he targets like prostitutes and escorts and things like that. And he ties an intricate set of ropes that causes them to, the more they move, the tighter the rope gets, and essentially like it cuts off their ability to breathe at a certain point. And like he watches them struggle and he watches them like basically like run out of the ability to be able to breathe. And I really thought that this was a very interesting ending because it definitely had Tracy going up against Captain Nolasco, which is her captain, and he doesn't like her very much. Well, let's just put it like that. And I found it really interesting that, you know, you think you have the serial killer and then you don't have the serial killer, but then you do have the serial killer. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Next, I listened to In the Clearing, which is book 3. So this, what do you call it? It's a cold case, and she takes it on for a friend, and essentially she's trying to figure out what happened to a girl who was run over, but they thought that she just like, you know, jumped into the river and killed herself on like a really like horrible weather evening or whatever. And you know, they live in a place where like snow, blizzards, all that kind of thing, so they think that like too much, like she got overwhelmed by something and essentially like unalived herself. And Tracy then comes up with the fact that like she was actually thrown in the river, and first she was run over, and then it's about putting all the pieces together. I really enjoyed this one. Essentially this has been a 5-star series for me so far, because I've just really enjoyed just how the attention to detail that the author puts in to all of this. And then I also read In the Clearing, which is book number 4. And this one, no, sorry, The Trapped Girl. I just talked about In the Clearing. Who is she? The Trapped Girl. So this is about, hang on, let me make sure I'm saying this. Okay, so they found a body in a crab pot, realized it's actually the girl who supposedly fell off the mountain, and her husband reported her missing. But was it her or was it her friend? And did her husband kill them, or was it somebody else who killed it? Or did the friend kill the girl before? And it's this whole story about how a woman put together all of this effort to disappear because her husband was trying to come after her trust fund. And in all of that, right, there's this whole convoluted web about how the trust fund is moved from this bank to this bank to that bank, and then suddenly disappears, right? And you have a girl who is a foster child who lived with her aunt, who's trying to build a life for herself, who marries the wrong man and is trapped into a relationship that she doesn't want to be a part of. And it was, oh, it was so good. It was so thrilling. Totally cheesy for me to say that, but so thrilling. I loved every minute of it, and I absolutely love the way that Tracy is able to like continue to dig deep and to really put those pieces together. And the final 2 books I read this month were Whispers of Redemption, which I gave 2 stars. I had to think about it for a second. And Wed to the Alien, which I gave 4 stars. If you're interested in my thoughts or feelings about this, The Good, the Bad, the Smutty book club link is below. Jess and I had a lot to say about Whispers of Redemption, and then we had a really great conversation about Wed to the Alien by January Bell. So that's it, my friends. I had, despite how busy I was in the month of May, my audiobook really came back. So like I was really enjoying audiobooks again. So I think that really helped with the number of books I was able to read this month. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this wrap up, please feel free to like and or comment. Let me know how you're feeling about it. If we read the same books, if you have different opinions of the books that I discussed, and be sure to subscribe because who knows what I'm gonna post next. And that's gonna be it for me today. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.